It all started that evening when I, Daniel, returned home to our two-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of Aspenwood, where I live with my wife Kate and her mother Victoria. 3 years of marriage, that stage where it feels like everything has been tried in the bedroom. From romantic candles to spontaneous experiments after a bottle of wine, bought at the nearby convenience store. But that evening Kate, my Kate, with her sly smile and dimples, suggested something that almost made me drop the grocery bag. She stood at the stove, stirring peel off, its aroma filling the apartment, and suddenly said, "Dan, what if I tie you up and blindfold you?" "What for?" I squinted, kicking off my sneakers at the doorstep and throwing my jacket onto the old sofa. "Well, it'll be fun. Don't ruin the vibe, just agree." She winked, and a certain mystery rang in her voice, as if she had planned something bigger than just a game. I shrugged. Kate always knew how to turn me on in a flash. And after a day at the office fixing computers, I wanted something to break the routine. She led me to the bedroom, where daisy-patterned wallpaper we'd put up right after the wedding still hung on the walls. She deftly tied my hands to the headboard with an old leather belt we usually use for suitcases. She placed a silk scarf over my eyes, the very one her mother had given her for the wedding, with embroidered flowers, smelling of lavender. "And I'll tape your mouth shut," she giggled, pulling duct tape from the dresser drawer. "Otherwise, Victoria will whine again that we're making noise like at a marketplace." Yes, we live with my mother-in-law, Victoria, 40. But looks like men on the street turn their heads and market vendors give her discounts. Tall, with a model-like figure just like Kate's, only slightly curvier, and with a mature confidence in her eyes that made me feel like a boy. Sometimes I caught myself thinking that she and Kate were like sisters. Only my mother-in-law seemed to know some secret that my wife hadn't yet figured out. Living under the same roof with her wasn't easy. She would grumble that we watched shows too loudly, hint that it was time for us to move out, or leave notes in the kitchen asking to take out the trash. But we got along in general. She even sometimes treated me to her signature chibariki, which were impossible to refuse. "All right, bring on your gadgets," I grumbled, already anticipating something interesting, though a thought flashed through my head that this might just be another one of Kate's pranks. Kate left, slamming the door, and I heard footsteps on the creaking parquet. A minute later, there was a rustle. Someone put a condom on me. And then she lowered herself onto me, but something was off. The movements were different, the rhythm unfamiliar, even the breathing deeper than Kate's. I tensed up, trying to understand what was happening. The clock on the wall ticked, showing 2 in the morning. Who else could be in our old apartment? Only the 3 of us. Hands tied, eyes covered, and she only moaned quietly, as if deliberately so I wouldn't recognize the voice. Cleverly planned, flashed through my mind. But they hadn't accounted for one thing. The scent. Not Kate's light, floral one, but something heady, with notes of sandalwood. That was the perfume I had given my mother-in-law for her birthday, chosen at the duty-free when we flew to Sunny Coast. My heart started pounding. Could it really be Victoria? Or was I going crazy? My thoughts were jumbled, but I decided not to let on. If this was Kate, she clearly wanted to test me. If it was my mother-in-law, that was a whole different story. About 20 minutes passed. I couldn't hold back. She disappeared immediately, as if dissolving into the darkness, and soon Kate returned. Started untying the ropes, humming something. "Well, Danny. Awesome, huh?" She giggled, fixing her hair and tossing the scarf onto the nightstand. I pulled her close, looking straight into her eyes. "That was your mom, wasn't it?" "What? You're crazy." Her cheeks flushed, but I could see she wasn't surprised. She was rather trying to hide a smile. "Kate, don't lie." I figured it out. The scent of her perfume, the movement, the rhythm. It was Victoria. She hesitated, bit her lip, then exhaled, sitting on the edge of the bed. "All right, sorry. She's always complaining that we're loud, but well, you get it? She wants it too. I thought you wouldn't guess, and we'd just have some fun." "Seriously? You could have just said." "She's beautiful, though." I winked, trying to keep a straight face, though inside I was boiling with a mix of shock and excitement. And you know, the feeling was way harder than usual. "Maybe we should repeat it." Kate looked at me with slight surprise, then laughed, slapping my shoulder. "You're not against it?" "All right, I'll think about it. Just don't get too cheeky, Danny." The next evening, everything repeated, but with new colors. This time, she or they were bolder. Movements more confident, moans a bit louder, though the voice was still hidden. I lay there trying to figure out who it was, but the scent of sandalwood gave her away again. In the morning at breakfast, Victoria carefully avoided my gaze, pouring tea with trembling hands. She was in her favourite blue robe, which made her look even younger. Kate, however, threw sly glances at me, as if checking what I would say. I remained silent, but inside, everything was churning. That day, I couldn't concentrate at work. Images of the night, the scent of sandalwood, the whispers, spun in my head. I even spilled coffee on the keyboard, making my colleagues laugh. By evening, I decided not to delay. I came home from work early, while Kate was still at the office. She worked at a bank until 6, dealing with loans. Victoria was bustling in the kitchen in a light sundress that emphasized her figure. Cutlets were sizzling on the stove, and a cutting board with chopped onions lay on the table. I came up close, my hand sliding over her hips. "Daniel, what are you doing?" She gasped but didn't pull away, only dropped a wooden spoon. "I know it was you. You didn't object last night," I said, looking into her eyes. She fell silent, only her cheeks flushed. And a minute later, her moans filled the kitchen. I felt her trembling under my hands, her breath quickening. "What a woman you are." I sped up, feeling adrenaline rush to my head. "Maybe we should try something else?" She nodded, embarrassed. Her voice trembled. "Oh, Dan, tell me how, quieter. Take me." I fulfilled her request. Soon, trembling, she slid to the floor, gasping for air. Her hair was disheveled, her sundress hiked up. "Well?" I asked, smirking, and offered her hand to help her up. "That was unnaturally good," she exhaled, fixing her hair and smiling shyly. After that incident in the kitchen, a strange atmosphere settled in our apartment. Kate pretended not to know anything, though I was sure she understood everything. She even washed the dishes too cheerfully. Victoria blushed when I looked at her. And I caught myself waiting for the evening with boyish excitement. Sometimes during dinner, she would accidentally touch my hand while passing a plate. And I saw her eyes flare up. Once, when Kate went to get seconds, my mother-in-law whispered, "Daniel, you won't tell anyone, right?" I just nodded but smirked inside. The secret made it all even more interesting. A couple of days later, Kate, while serving borscht at dinner, suddenly said, "Dan, what if Mom joins us sometimes?" "Hi, sometimes." I almost choked, putting my glass of compote on the table. "Seriously? Are you serious right now?" "Yeah. I like that she likes you. And I've seen how she looks at you." Kate smiled, and my mother-in-law almost dropped her spoon into her bowl. "Kate," you started. Victoria began, but her daughter interrupted her. "Mom, don't start. We're adults. And honestly, I don't mind." I looked at my mother-in-law. She was as red as the tomatoes she chopped for the salad. But there was something in her eyes that said, "She's not exactly against it either." We discussed the new rules over dinner, as if it were a family council about repairs. Victoria sat staring at her plate, while Kate chatted away. "So, Mum joins us twice a week. No freelancing, everything's fair. Dan, no stunts like in the kitchen. What if I want it more often?" I joked, winking at my mother-in-law. She practically jumped in her chair, but a spark flashed in her eyes. And I realized she was in the game too. The first official night happened on a Saturday. We had dinner with dumplings we'd made together, laughing at how mine fell apart. Then Kate led me to the bedroom and blindfolded me herself. But instead of starting, she sat down next to me on the bed, the springs creaking. "Mum, come on, you know what to do," she said, and I heard my mother-in-law cough awkwardly. I felt familiar hands, but then I stopped. This wasn't my mother-in-law. The movements were too sharp too. "Kate." I tore off the blindfold, almost ripping it. Both stood before me in matching black lace lingerie, which they must have bought specifically at that boutique on Main Street. "Surprise." Kate giggled, adjusting a strap. Victoria covered her mouth with her hand, but her eyes burned like a girl's in love for the first time. "Are you serious?" I laughed, but inside, everything boiled with anticipation. What followed was a night I'll never forget. They were like two sides of the same coin. Kate, bold, confident, with her habit of biting my shoulder. Victoria, gentle but with a hidden passion that unfolded with every moment. I lost track of time, dissolving in their whispers, laughter, and warmth. At one point, Kate whispered, "So, Danny, don't regret agreeing, do you?" I just snorted because I was out of words. I woke up to the smell of pancakes and coffee. Kate and her mother were chatting in the kitchen like girlfriends, discussing where to buy meat at the market and whether to get potatoes from that guy on the corner. When I walked in, they turned and smiled in sync. "Coffee?" Victoria handed me a cup. Her fingers trembled slightly. I took the cup, deliberately touching her hand. "Thanks, Vic." Kate rolled her eyes, spreading jam on a pancake. "Great, now he's really going to get cheeky." 6 months passed. Our life had changed. Morning no longer started with just coffee. Kate wakes me with light kisses and whispers, "Morning, handsome." Behind her stands Victoria in a satin robe, fixing her hair. "Good morning, trouble," she mumbles, blushing, and reaches for a plate to hide her embarrassment. "Good morning." "What? Isn't it your day today?" I wink, pulling on a t-shirt. Kate giggles, pouring tea. "Mum says you looked too good in that shirt yesterday." During breakfast, which is now always for 3, Kate suddenly declares, poking a fork into a cucumber, "Let's have our threesomes without those blindfolds and spy games." Victoria drops her fork on the table. "Kate, are you serious?" That's too much. But I see she's not so much outraged as blushing to her ears, her fingers nervously fiddling with the edge of the tablecloth. One evening after the 3 of us watched an old classic movie, Kate suggested having an open night. I thought she was joking, but she was already pulling me toward the bedroom, and Victoria, though grumbling, followed us, adjusting her robe. They stood before me, 2 incredible women. Kate confidently dropped her robe, revealing lace lingerie. Victoria followed suit, but her hands were trembling. "Mum, relax," Kate whispers, helping her untie the belt. When they were side by side, I realized this was the best thing that had ever happened to me. The night passed in a haze. Laughter, whispers, moments of tenderness and passion. We talked, joked, and at one point Victoria, shedding her shyness, reached for me herself, her eyes blazing. In the morning, I lay in the middle of the huge bed. Kate was pressed against me on the left, Victoria on the right. My mother-in-law opened her eyes first. "Daniel, she began, but I kissed her forehead. "It's okay. We're family." Kate woke up, saw us, and smiled, stretching. "Well, Mum, now we officially share." Now we have a shared album on our phones with pictures we'd never show anyone. Evening tea in the kitchen has become our ritual. We laugh, chat, as if nothing unusual is happening. Sometimes we go out to cafes together, and from the outside, we look like an ordinary family. Me, Kate, and her mother, who, to be fair, looks more like an older sister. But when I catch the glances of Kate and Victoria, I understand we have a secret that brings us closer. Sometimes we reminisce about how it all started. Kate laughs, telling how scared she was that I'd get angry upon finding out about her mom. Victoria blushes but then admits she didn't expect to enjoy it so much herself. I just listen, sipping tea, and think that this life is like winning the lottery. I realized you can't buy a family like this for any money. True, there's one downside. Now I bring home twice as many roses, and the florist at the market already recognizes me. Another thing, Victoria recently hinted that it's time for all of us to go to Lake Serenity. The sunsets there, she says, are dizzying. I already know that vacation will be unforgettable. Kate added that we should take a tent so no one complains about the noise. We laughed, and Victoria, blushing, threw a kitchen towel at her.